My name is Frederick Dunson.
Yeah.
I am the one of the founders and president and executive director of the Frankie Knuckles Foundation.
Yeah.
The Frankie Knuckles Foundation obviously is in memory of my good friend and my brother, my sister, my mentor, Frankie Knuckles, who left us much too soon. Frankie is regarded to be the godfather of house. He doesn't call himself that, neither did he think of himself that, but that's who he is. So he was a very generous person, and so when he left us, there was a group of us who thought, how could we honor him and continue his legacy? And we said, let's form a foundation that could give to some causes that he was very passionate about. Music in school, LGBTQIA+, youth homelessness, AIDS awareness, education, prevention, and of course diabetes, which is what he suffered from. And so we just, 10 years later, going on 11, we're still just trying to, figure it all out, and I think we've been doing a pretty good job.
Y'all have been doing an amazing job.
Well, thank you.
For everyone joining us out there in the world, this is our inaugural edition of what we're calling Center Stage at the Center on Halsted. I'm Joli Robinson. I'm the CEO here. I have the esteemed pleasure and honor, number one, to have met you before at our Midwest Pride, but number two, for you to be our inaugural guest here on our show is really super exciting.
I was saying to Nick and Mason on the way up, I said, I kind of was like, oh, okay. I was like, okay, just go for it, and But we met prior to Midwest Pride. Yeah. I came here for a tour with Nick.
Nice.
And you happened to be walking in the halls, and we bumped into each other.
Oh.
But you had been here for maybe a year by then.
Okay. Good. So in the hallway.
In the hallway. He was giving me a tour, and you were actually doing something, because I could tell by the way we stopped you. You kind of, you could tell that person has a focus. Yeah. And then I'm going to do this, and that's what you had in your eyes.
All right. Well, I'm happy we had a little bit longer time to chat at the summit. Yeah, and then even today. So I'm going to dig into our first question.
There you go, because I'll babble all day.
That's all right. That's all right.
You'd be like, okay, look, let's just try.
Tell us, what's your Center on Halsted origin story? What originally attracted you to the organization?
How I got here was the president of my advisory committee for the foundation, Joe Shanahan, who owns Metro Smart Bar and G-Man, and who was a friend of Frankie's as well as a friend of mine. We came to the end, we do this annual birthday party for Frankie there, which is our fundraiser, our major fundraiser. And we try to give to various charities. And so one year, Joe was very particular about his suggestion. And so as president of the advisory committee, I have to sometimes say, and then go, okay, I hear you. And his point was, when we look around the room at our event, who supports us? And it's members of the community that live in this neighborhood on this, and so it perfect sense to me. And I thought about it. I said, so here they do so many things there. This will take care of a couple of issues that we want to, the AIDS part, the youth homelessness, so that was easy. And so I talked to the other board members, and I said, this is what we're going to give this year. So it was Center on Halsted and Howard Brown. And so I said, So I made the donation, and then I got, so it got doubled because it was at a fundraising time that, you would
match.
Yes. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, okay, that's really nice. And so I got a thank you from Nick, and he said, oh, you should come over and see what we're doing. And I ended up here. So that's
I love it. We're currently, this is Pride Month. Happy Pride.
Happy Pride to you too.
And we currently have a match out. So if you want to give to Center on Halsted and all the tremendous work, as you were mentioning, it supports a variety of things.
Mm-hmm.
Youth programming,
yes.
Pride and Aging, HIV and STI testing, services, prevention, and linkage to care. So fantastic. Thank you for dropping that jewel and that nugget, and good to hear kind of your origin story and how you got connected to Center on Halsted. Is there a particular program, experience, or moment at Center on Halsted that made you feel especially proud to be a part of this community or work?
Wow. You're really hitting on the buttons today.
Yeah.
I just said on my way up with Nick and Mason how I enjoyed Midwest Pride. When I walked in on Friday, I was like, oh, okay, here we go, another one of these. In my head, I come from a corporate background.
Mm-hmm.
So for 33 years, I worked for the county, and in the last, I'd say maybe 23 years of that tenure, it was in administration. So going to things like that, I would always go, I'd always call them dog and pony shows, you know, because sometimes it's good, sometimes it's okay, sometimes the lunches are good, sometimes the lunches are okay, but for the most part, it's a bunch of fluff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, no disrespect to any of the office holders I work for, but it's a bunch of fluff. And so I said, and I said to Nick, I walked away, so it was not what I expected. And it was really a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. And I've been saying that to people since I went. I've been mentioning it. I met some people who knew some people from Detroit. They have an organization. They're interested in kind of, you know, connecting. So it was really good. It was really good. So I take my hat off and kudos.
Thank you. It was our first time hosting that summit earlier this year, and it was really special. I can say, even for myself, it exceeded my expectations and what it would feel like to be in a space of folks that are doing this work across the Midwest region, which is one of the reasons we put it on, is to prioritize how do we strengthen our partnerships and relationships with those that are outside of Chicagoland.
I said to Nick and Mason on my way up, I said, you know, even though when you're going through the struggle and it seems like you're going through the struggle alone, it's easier to go through it when there are other people and you know other people are experiencing the same things.
Yeah. And
so I really met a really fun group of guys. I met some interesting girls as well. And it was fun. I'd do it again.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I'd do it again.
We're gonna do it again too. When you think about the future of LGBTQ plus communities in Chicago, what role do you see the Center on Halsted playing, and why is that important to you? I think it might also have to do a little bit of like the Midwest Pride and that convening, but maybe not. So I'll read it one more time. When you think about the future of LGBTQ plus communities in Chicago, what role do you see Center on Halsted playing, and why is that important to you?
We all have stories to tell, and we all have a story behind that story, and all of our journeys are basically the same, but how we got to those journeys is different. And finding who we are, what we are, and being happy with that. Then there comes the service part of that. At some point you feel that you're making a difference, or you want to make a difference in someone's life. I think having the resources that are housed here accomplishes that, because I'm not going to be around forever. You're not going to be around forever. None of us are going to be around forever. And so we want our legacy to be that we tried, but here's the option, and here's the vehicle for you to get to that point. And so having a place like this, or places like this, means so much to our younger brothers and sisters, our nieces, our nephews, our cousins. And in some cases, I just had lunch with somebody who told me their father came out, and I was like, wait. Because if he's got to be, and to have, you're at that point where he couldn't come out all of the year and to live his life. But we're fortunate that we're able to do that. So I always tell the younger kids, you stand on our shoulders, we stand on someone else's shoulders, but we made it easy for you to live the life publicly that you do. And so appreciate us, love us, but by the same time, we have to teach you how to do that because obviously there's a learning curve.
Right. So this is Pride Month, and Pride means a lot of things to a lot of people. What does Pride mean to you?
I think every day is Pride.
Yeah.
Every day that we can get up, open our eyes, and say, hey, one more take, let's do this over again. And that we can, again, impart something, do something. It's prideful. I know that sounds a little cliche, especially since Pride Month, but it makes us happy to be who we are, and we have to be happy with who we are and within those communities. So people of color, we have an extra burden to bear being gay and black and wherever. You know, be it from our families, be it from our churches, be it from schools, be it from whatever. So we wear that double badge, and it affords us that opportunity to say, hey, if we're going to do this, this is how it should be done, and kind of, you know, be happy about it.
And this is how it's going to look for me, right?
And this is how it should look to the world or to our communities.
Yeah, I love that. Who is your LGBTQ plus hero or icon, and why?
Oh my God, when I saw that, I said, oh, do I have to pick one? So I'm gonna say, do I have to pick one?
You don't have to pick one. No, you don't have to pick
Okay.
one.
So I would be remiss if I didn't say my best friend and my the love of my life, not sexually. Let me clear that up. The love of my life, my soulmate, Frankie, of course.
Yeah.
Then there comes Sylvester. And this is not in any order. Then comes RuPaul, who I just happened to meet in January. He showed up at Frankie's birthday party in London. And just the things. So I'm gonna bring it home and be locally. There was a female performer who's no longer with us, Leslie Regine, who was my mom, who worked at the Baton. And if I'm going to mention the Baton, I might as well say Jim Flint. But then there are other people like the late Ernest Collins, Lee Jones. I stand on their shoulders because they just knew how to be elegant with everything that they did.
Beautiful.
You know, not over the top, but elegant.
Yeah.
You know, just really elegant.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you brought it home local, right?
Oh, of course. I couldn't forget. I stand, like I said, I stand on their shoulders because they were doing things and they were being who they were even when I was a child. Oh, okay, don't roll your eyes. I'm not trying to call you old, but I'm just saying they were there to pave the way for me to be able to be who I am, and meeting them and knowing them and forging a relationship with them. So I thank them.
Yeah.
I thank all of them, the ones that I know personally and the ones that I don't know, because they gave us that opportunity to walk down the street and sashay.
Right, our ancestors.
Yes.
Our ancestors.
And we have to honor them because at some point we may want to be honored.
Right. Love it. So there's usually a couple of kind of ending questions. What brings you joy sometimes is the one we ask, but for this series, because it's center stage and because we're here at the Center on Halsted on our stage, which is why we got center stage, what is centering you?
The ability to share experiences, to maybe educate people about house music, about being Black and gay, about living a purposeful life. I belong to a ministry, High River Rod, and my pastor would probably say, you're learning what I'm trying to impart in you and teach you. And so it's about living the best life possible right now. Right now.
I love that.
As much as you can.
Yeah.
What brings me joy is to see people smile and to have a great conversation and a good laugh and a really nice cocktail, and being able to just, relate.
Yeah.
This weekend, there was an event in Naples for Frankie, and the Italians, it got really emotional for me. It got emotional for one of the other performers who I've known him forever, and we had a chance to bond and talk. And when I saw him tearing up and crying like he did, I said, oh my God, what an impact. And as steward of that legacy, I get an opportunity to tell not only his story, but the story of House and the story of how the gay community was a proponent, and we were listening to it before it became fashionable, and our contribution to that genre, to that culture, to that community, and saying, wow, a purpose.
Yeah. Okay, so we can't leave until you tell us the shirt. Tell us about the shirt. It's beautiful.
Oh God. So a couple of years ago, maybe it's been longer than that, I went to the Chosen Few festivals. Now festival used to be called Hospice Picnic, but I went to the festival and there was a guy there who Frankie had worked with, a singer, who had one on, but it was of a different image. And when I saw it from afar, and because I immediately recognized his smile, I immediately saw his face, and I walked up to him, I said, where'd you get this shirt? Because at that point we had trademark, and because people were doing all sorts of things with his name, and we wanted to kind of reel it in. So for somebody to take the likeness, and I'm like, is this something we need to be? Anyway, that's a side story. I'm sorry. And I saw him and I said, who made that shirt? And he said, I was hoping that you would pay attention and see it. I wore it just so that you would see it. And his t-shirt was like a blue. It was a really pretty blue. And it was a different image. And he told me his name is Michael Cox. And he has a company, bornvainart.com. And he will, if you sent him a picture, he will do one of you. He's done basketball players, he's done professional athletes. Ernie Banks is a famous, but he's done legendary singers. He does anybody he will do. He is and he's a sweetheart. He really is a sweetheart. So I just thought it was befitting that I wear, I have to, that branding thing.
That's it.
Trying to stay on trend, So if you want one, bornvain.com.
Good, I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being our first guest. Thank you for all the work that you've done. Thank you for your legacy that you are currently living in, and thank you for the legacy that you are passing down to all of us.
I don't think of it as legacy, but thank you. I'll take the the applause. I think of it as spreading the word and sharing the gospel of life, house, and love.
I love it, and that's a perfect way to end. Thank you.